Hey there, there's a very exciting celestial phenomena happening on 14th October 2023 and it is visible almost across entire Americas, from South America to Central America to North America, and this is a solar eclipse. This is not a total solar eclipse but another phenomena called as annular solar eclipse. So you won't witness a corona of the sun or diamond ring, but you can see the ring of fire. But why is annular solar eclipse called annular? Does it have to do with something annual or anything like that? No. Annular solar eclipse, the word derives from the Latin word annulus, which means ring. The orbit of moon around Earth is not circular, it's an ellipse, and Earth is not present in the center of it. It's in one of its focus. And the moon comes closer to the Earth and goes further away. The closest point to the Earth for the moon is called the perigee, and on the other hand, the furthest point is called apogee. So when an eclipse happens around perigee, not exactly, then you might get a total solar eclipse. And when it happens around the apogee, the annular solar eclipse happens because the moon is further away. Occurrence of a solar eclipse from Earth is a rare coincidence because the moon is about 400 times smaller than the sun in terms of diameter. But if you compare the distance of Earth and moon and Earth and sun, the sun is also 400 times further away. Due to this rare coincidence, what happens that the moon appears the same size as compared to the sun from the Earth. Now, there's some variation. It sometimes appears slightly bigger, sometimes slightly smaller. A solar eclipse happens when the Earth, moon and sun are aligned in the same line, and due to which what happens, the moon's shadow falls on the Earth, and wherever the shadow falls, you can witness a solar eclipse. So on the other places of Earth, you won't see the eclipse, but only where the shadow is falling. The sun is not a point source in the sky like stars, but it is an extended light source. It appears like a circle, not a dot. And when the moon covers it, it leads to formation of two types of shadows. If you're standing at a location where the moon is visible covering the entire sun, the shadow falling there is called as umbra, where all the light of the sun is getting cut. But at a location where the moon is not covering the sun entirely, that is called penumbra. So when the light is partially falling at a location, we have a shadow called penumbra, and when it is totally covered, we have something called as umbra. So when a total solar eclipse happens, where the umbra is falling, there you witness the total solar eclipse. On the other hand, where the penumbra is falling, there you will see a partial solar eclipse. But what happens in case of annular solar eclipse? In annular solar eclipse, though the alignment is perfect, but the moon is further away. So the umbra of the moon is not reaching the Earth, though it is aligning at that location, but it is out there in the space. And behind the umbra, the shadow which is there, that is called antumbra. So there the light is coming, but partially, because all around the moon you can see the sun like a ring, hence the name ring of fire. Now you're excited to watch this annular solar eclipse and the ring of fire. The next thing you need is a tool which can help you to tell where the eclipse is visible, when it is visible, and what phase is visible where. Now there's a very interesting tool, and it was developed by a French astronomer and eclipse chaser called Xavier Joubert. Xavier Joubert is an avid astronomer and eclipse chaser. He's also been to Antarctica and seen and captured an eclipse from the highest peak of Antarctica, making a world record. And he has done several eclipse chasing groups and tours, including eclipse flights. You can check out his website xjoubert.free.fr and know more about his work. But there's a very interesting tool in his website that is called the interactive Google Earth Maps for solar eclipses. Let me open my laptop and show you that. This is his website, and if you go down here, you will see something called as interactive Google Maps. Click on it and you will have different solar eclipse maps, different total and hybrid eclipse and annular eclipse. For our case, we have to look for an annular solar eclipse of 14th October 2023. And something like this will open up. It's an interactive Google Earth map and you can see different lines on it. This green line represents the entire area where eclipse is visible, whether it's partial or the annular phase. Now if you see in the center, there is this blue line. This blue line represents the central path of the eclipse. If you're standing on this path, you will be able to witness the sun and moon perfectly aligned. The moon will be aligned with the center of the sun and the perfect ring of fire can be seen. And on both sides of the blue line, you can see the two pink region. This represents the region where the annularity of the eclipse will be visible. And within this pink line is the region where the antumbra of the moon will fall. If you're outside this pink region but within the green lines, you're going to witness the partial phase of the eclipse, or where the penumbra of the moon is falling. This interactive map has an amazing feature. That is, if you click on any place, it will give you parameters of the eclipse. For example, if I've clicked here, it will show you how much obstruction is there, which is how much percent of the sun will be covered by the moon. In this case, it is 86.2%. That is, during the maximum eclipse, only 86.2% of the sun will be covered by the moon. In right hand top side, you will see the penumbral duration. And if you click within the pink line, you will see the duration of the annular phase of the eclipse. In this case, it is about 4 minutes 46 seconds. Lunar limb correction is something very interesting. The moon is not a smooth ball. There are mountains and valleys, and that also affects the timing of the eclipse. This also leads to visibility of a very interesting phenomena called Baily's bead. Baily's bead are visible during the start of annularity or end of annularity. In case of total eclipse, during start of totality or end of totality. In this lower table, you can see different parameters like time of that particular phase, its position in the sky, and date. Now, there is something like C1, C2, maximum, C3, and C4. C1 is basically called first contact. In this phase, the moon is just touching the edge of the sun. The eclipse has just started. It has not yet covered the sun. In C2, the entire moon is above it, but the other side, other edge of the moon is making contact with the edge of the sun. Maximum eclipse is the maximum phase of the eclipse where the moon is covering maximum amount of the sun. And C3 is when the annularity, or in case of total, the totality is ending and the sun is exiting out. And C4 is the end of eclipse when the moon is going out of the sun's disk and the eclipse ends. And here, if you see, if I bring my mouse over these different phases, I can see the small blue box above it showing the simulation how that phase will be visible. Even during maximum eclipse, you can see that the sun is only getting obstructed about 89%, which means that the moon is over the sun but not covering it entirely, and the rest of the portion is the unobstructed view of the sun, and that appears as the ring of fire. Now let's check out how this particular eclipse is visible at different places. Start of the eclipse is happening in North Pacific Ocean south of Alaska, and here you can see this eclipse happening during sunrise. But you have to be in the middle of the ocean. But as the shadow, as the antumbra of the moon passes through the Pacific Ocean towards the west coast of US, you will start seeing the eclipse in the western coast in Oregon. As the shadow passes through Oregon, it will pass over a very interesting, beautiful place called Crater Lake. And here you can see the annular eclipse happening above this beautiful place. And here at Crater Lake, you can see that the annularity is about 4 minutes 35 seconds long. And if you look at this position of the sun at maximum eclipse, the sun is only about 19 degrees above the horizon. And that makes a very beautiful opportunity for you to go out there with your cameras and capture this beautiful annular eclipse. If you take some images of the eclipse, especially from the Crater Lake, do post them in the comment. I would love to see them. If you're living in Portland, there the annularity is not visible, but you can see a deep 86% partial eclipse. But it's way better experience if you travel south and go under the antumbra and witness the ring of fire. After Oregon, the shadow will pass through northern Nevada, and you can see the eclipse passing through here. But the major city of Las Vegas won't have an annularity, but a deep 81% solar eclipse can be seen. In nearby California, you can see a 76% eclipse from San Francisco, and about 71% in Los Angeles. After Nevada, the shadow will pass through Utah, and you can take some annularity images from the Canyonland National Park or the Glen Valley National Park. Then the shadow will pass through New Mexico, and the annularity can be seen from the city of Albuquerque. From Albuquerque, you can see an annularity of 4 minutes 48 seconds. After New Mexico, the shadow will pass through southern Texas, and you can see the annularity from the city of San Antonio. Even in Austin, Texas, you can see a partial eclipse of 88%. City of Houston will have a partial eclipse of about 85%, which is pretty good. After this, the shadow will exit the US and pass over the Gulf of Mexico and pass over the Yucatan region of Mexico. The Antumbra will barely miss the city of Merida, and it will witness a deep partial eclipse of 90%. If you talk about other cities in Mexico, the capital Mexico City is going to get 69% partial eclipse, and Sinaloa about 63% and 62% in Guadalajara. Let's talk about the Caribbeans. Though the annularity cannot be seen, but a deep partial eclipse can be seen throughout. After Mexico, the shadow will pass through Nicaragua, but it's going to miss the capital of Managua, but 87% partial eclipse can be seen there. Near South Nicaragua and Costa Rica over the ocean, you can see this symbol here, which shows something called as maximum eclipse. Here the eclipse can be seen during noontime, and the sun will be highest in the sky, and it will have a duration of over 5 minutes. Then the shadow will pass through Panama, missing the capital again, and enter into Colombia. In Colombia, people living in Cali are going to witness the annularity and ring of fire with the annularity time of 3 minutes 45 seconds, but Medellin is going to miss the annularity with a deep partial eclipse. Further south, Ecuador is going to miss the annularity, but again a partial eclipse can be seen there. Venezuela is going to miss the annularity, but partial eclipse is going to be visible throughout the country. Then the shadow will pass through northern part of Brazil, across the Amazon, and the annularity can be seen all through this belt. The capital Brasilia is going to be out of Antumbra and can witness a 62% partial eclipse. As the shadow exits Brazil, it will pass near the city of Natal, and there you can see a beautiful sunset of the annular ring. And the eclipse will end over the Atlantic Ocean. Countries like most of Argentina, Chile, Paraguay, Uruguay are also going to witness a partial eclipse. But the southern region of South America, especially the Patagonia region, will not see any eclipse as it is out of the penumbra region. Though I'm going to miss this eclipse, but I hope this video is useful for my American friends out there, and take some amazing photos and watch this beautiful ring of fire out there. But make sure you use safe solar observation techniques. You don't want to spoil your eyes or damage your equipment. There are some interesting indirect techniques you can use to observe the eclipse. For example, you can make a simple pinhole camera and watch the eclipse safely, or just go under a tree. The gap between the leaves acts like a pinhole, and you can see the images spread everywhere under a tree. Let me know in the comments about your solar eclipse experience. This is Ashish signing off. Clear skies to you, and have a good eclipse.